It was also like you go on those. It was also just a bunch of swamp creatures.
Yes.
Like the stigma is gone now.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Back then, I mean, you'd have to scroll for a while.
I wonder how money would work in these situations. Like, you're out of your first marriage, you're rolling into the second one. You're not going to be like the most like appealing visual swipe, but how could you just be like, by the way, I make high six figures, looking for 20 years younger. Like, how do you need some way to be able to let them know how much money you have too?
Well, I think that's actually one of the, I saw someone do, and what's up, everybody? Happy to have you guys with us. You're watching the MLB. We're talking about the girl that went viral. Just to let you in on this conversation here, I'm sure you'll appreciate it actually. About the girl who went viral for being upset about the guy, sweating bets at the dinner. And I have my thoughts on this. I think that I think the guy was actually in the wrong, not for sweating bets, but for the way that he did it. He was either, actively trying to sabotage this date, which in that event, he did an excellent job, or he just had, or he's just, you figure out a way to do it. You want to do it. I told Josh, you bring her into your world. You say, hey, come here, look, I got this bet. We're drinks are on me all night tonight. If this hits, come watch this. We need Mookie Betts to get a hit. And you explain there how it works. Something like that. Or he just wanted nothing to do with her, Josh. Or he had no idea what he's doing. Because you could put your phone on your lap. Boom. You look down every couple of seconds. You go off to take a quick leak. You sweat that bet. You come back. You say, oh, there was a line for the bathroom. There's a lot of different ways to make that play. But he just threw the phone on the table.
Yeah. I think the most likely, the Occam's razor of all of this is one of two situations. I think they're equal. Either he's just dumb and like doesn't understand how to work in a social situation.
I think that's possible. What it was, honestly.
Possible. Or he met her for the first time and was just like, she's not hotter and more captivating than sweating a Mookie Betts at bet, which I also think is very possible. Like,
I think that's true.
If you want somebody to not pay attention to your phone, be more interesting.
Yep. But I still think the Occam's razor would point more towards your first hypothesis there, that he just had no social awareness whatsoever.
Yeah, I just don't think he cared.
I think that's endemic in society now. People just don't know how to act anymore. And maybe that's me getting older, but I don't know.
I don't fault him for it. He should do whatever he wants.
Listen, dude, I can assure you, I'm not filing for divorce and trying to find this girl so I can take her out on a date. I mean? That's not what's happening here. But what I said to you is, I thought that some of the people in the comments were speaking as people who have, never been able to secure a date on their own. So now they just, they're just hateful beings. That's all. And I think there's actually a lot of that. If you go look at some of those comments, she should have She should have sucked it up. It's like, yeah, I mean,
wow.
Yeah. Happy to have you guys with us. You're watching the MLB Strategy Show. We had 8 games today, and shout out to our Chris Williams, just keeping it alive. Gifted another 5 stochastic subs from the Apple headquarters out there in California, I'd assume. Shout out to him. He's been doing it every day, every show. And if you got one, make sure to say thank you to him. But we've got 4 games for the main, 4 games for the early. Josh, you want to go early on the second part of the show, just because we're at a point where we could get all of the lineups in by the time we hit this, or at least most of them. And
we'll get more information on. We could get more information on the early. We won't get any more information on the late. So might as well start it up with the late, load back in the early, find out where we stand, and then move from there. I also just got done my my PGA crunch, so I'm feeling something. I do not enjoy what I'm seeing in my exposures for PGA.
Yeah, well, it happens. So let's talk about it. And if you guys haven't done so yet, hit that thumbs up. Atone for your sins here on a Thursday morning. We got some preseason football tonight. We got baseball locks at 6:40 and 12:35 Eastern. So 2 weird start times. Keep that in mind. But a lot going on. And Matt Kajeski and I will be hitting on the preseason slate tonight. That show starts at 6:15, 5 o'clock MLB Live before lock. But we're going to hit 50 likes here out of the gate. because we got some ride or die people. They come in, they're nice enough to they remember. They go, you know what? That's the least I can do is hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Or they say I'm already subscribed. Leave a comment down below if you're listening or watching after the fact. And if you are someone who would like to listen in podcast form and you don't maybe have YouTube Premium, can't close your phone and listen to it, don't want to go through all that rigmarole, just simply download the pod, subscribe on the Apple iTunes or a podcast or Spotify, wherever it is. Leave us a rating and review there. It goes a long way. So appreciate you. We're at 55 likes. Time to get rocking here. Atlanta and Pittsburgh. Again, we're going to hit the main slate first. We only have 8 games. We'll hit the main slate first. Then we'll hit the early slate and we'll be in business here. Atlanta -2. Dude, I think they've been -200 favorites or more in all 3 games so far. Pretty crazy stuff here. But wait, well, let me make sure.
How are you this bad at this?
Well, hold on a second. Jordan did this, not me. This is not me. Jordan put the early slate where the main slate should be. Is that what you were referring to? Is that what you were referring to?
Dude ain't even listening right now.
Is that what you were referring to? Yes, right?
Me or him?
You. Look at the
I don't know what I'm referring to. I don't look at whatever you hand in. I didn't look at your run sheet. I have no idea. I'm not referring to anything.
Look at the
You and Jordan need to have a conversation here. Leave me out of it.
Look at. All right. Look, it happens. No big deal. No big deal. Settle down, man. We're okay. Washington and Philly.
There we go. You started talking Atlanta. I was like, I don't have any of this.
We're good. No, it was in the sidebar. And then I looked at the run sheet and I go, that seems odd. Washington and Philly, 9-run total, Patrick Corbin and Aaron Nola. Man, is there any easier way to get Philly fans to endear yourself to Philly fans than to come out in your first home start with the Philadelphia Phillies in front of the Philly faithful and throw a no-hitter like Michael Lorenzen did yesterday? That was, dude, I tell you what, that was really cool. He had his wife and his infant in attendance with his mom there, and that was a crazy atmosphere. My buddy was there. He was hammered.
Really?
He took the worst video ever and sent it to me. And I told him, I was like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. But
some Blair Witch video in the stadium.
He was hammered, dude. So like the final out happens and he starts doing like zoom in, zoom out, zoom in, zoom out, thinking it was some cool effect, and it just looked like garbage.
Oh,
this is terrible. But that's pretty crazy. In your first home start with a team following the trade deadline, you go and throw a no-hitter. And he threw 8 innings the game before that.
Can't beat that.
No. Pretty awesome. Pretty awesome stuff.
Well,
he gave up
sort
some
of
hard contact too. But you got Nola today, who's sure to give up a 3-run homer at some point, going up against Washington. Patrick Corbin on the other side of this one. Let's talk about pitching first before we dive into bats. Philly, a real big favorite here at home.
Yeah, and they should be. Obviously, the Nats stink. They didn't get a hit yesterday, and now they get to face a good pitcher instead of one that did no hit them. Nola is 10-5, most expensive guy on the main slate tonight, $300 more expensive than Clayton Kershaw, who I think we have to have a conversation about. Actually, we should probably talk about Clayton Kershaw right now. He threw 4 innings, right? That's the minors. So he's been out since June 27th. We have him 55% owned at 10-2. I don't think he's going the full way today. So this is a very interesting talking point because I don't expect Clayton Kershaw to be 55% owned or anywhere near it. I don't think that he could be in a discussion with Aaron Nola, which makes Aaron Nola look even better.
Is Aaron Nola then your top pitcher on this slate?
He is. He's the guy that I have the most of. James Paxton looks pretty good here too for the Red Sox against the Royals, but it just so happens that I think the Nats are probably worse than the Royals. It's hard to not want to go to Nola, especially, I mean, they should only pitch him at home, first of all, because he's obviously better at home by a mile. 27% K rate for Nola over the past 2 seasons against lefties and righties. I'm just not worried about Washington at all here. If Nola really is in half of the lineups, great. I'll probably have a bit more. To me, he's very clearly the best guy that you can get to today.
looking at the K rate too, that's the only thing that comes to mind for me is Washington strikes out at a very low clip, second lowest clip in the league versus righties.
Yeah.
KC does strike out at a significantly higher clip, particularly against lefties. Paxton's getting similar ownership to Nola, but he's a lot less expensive. So that would be the only thing for me. It's like, look at I think the strikeout upside may be higher with Paxton, and he's $1,200 cheaper on DraftKings.
If it helps, like, I don't have Paxton that far behind Nola. So much of this comes down to Kershaw because it's clearly Nola and Paxton no matter what compared to the rest of everything that exists. Whether or not Kershaw exists is the only complicating factor.
Okay.
I have nothing negative to say about James Paxton. I also have more than 50% of him right now. If we look at just K props, it's a higher K prop for Paxton. He's minus 144 for the over of 6.5, while Nola is basically the same but under 6.5.
Any interest in Patrick Corbin today?
Nothing more than just the fact that it's a 4-game slate and he's an actual real baseball pitcher. He's 7,500, 18% chance at top 2 pitcher, 21% chance at top 2 batter. If you look at Corbin, at least for this year, has had a little bit of trouble with lefty power and a lot of bit of trouble with righty power. 212 x ISO to righty so far this season. This is a great spot for Philadelphia, but on a 4-game slate, as long as you're an actual major leaguer, you're going to work your way into a lineup just because of salary. And at 7,500, I think that's pretty reasonable. I have 10%. He's 7% owned. I think that's about where you should be on someone like Patrick Corbin.
Okay. How about bats for Philly today? Obviously going up against Corbin, who is allowing, look, Corbin's he's better than we saw. I think Corbin early in the season, you're like, man, it's going to be another one of these. He has not been good, but like you said, he's still an MLB pitcher at this point, even if it's a back of the rotation guy. But at the same time, Philly has a significant implied total here. It's August in the Northeast in a hitter friendly ballpark. Philly bats are going to look pretty decent.
They certainly are. There's not much to add here. Second in top stack, sixth in value. So there are some pretty high price tags for this one, but boy, oh boy, do these guys look good. They're only 15% in the aggregate. Schwarber and Harper, oddly enough, are pretty low owned. I think people are looking into that lefty spot. I think those are the most interesting guys to get to just because you're hoping that Philly just chases Corbin and then eventually you're just not going to be getting a lefty going again. So I really like Schwarber and Harper if you want to be a little bit different with a Phillies stack. But Alec Boehm, first, third, 4,400, properly owned as far as I'm concerned, really looks good. There's not a Pete, like the Park plays up power. Corbin plays up power. Philly looks fantastic. I have 36 5-man Philly stacks right now. That is my second highest mark behind the Red Sox. This is one of my favorite stacks to get to. The Park works, the run total works, the matchup works. Everything looks good for Philly. And it's odd because the bottom of their order is what's pulling the ownership, not the top.
Do you have any interest in Washington bats here? I don't think we need to spend a ton of time on this one.
Not a lot. Again, 4-game slate, so you always have to be at least a little bit aware of what's going on. CJ Abrams in the leadoff spot. If you're looking for a $4,300 shortstop hitting leadoff on the road in Philly, like that's a good situation. He's 10% owned. He's the most owned Nat. But they are 7th in top stack out of 8. And it should be pretty clear that the Rockies are going to be at the bottom of this one. That's where I have them. They're 5.5% owned in the aggregate. That seems about right. If you're going to the Nats, you're obviously not going to Nola, a Paxton, somebody else. Honestly, like Paxton, Corbin plus the Nats, you could probably get most of whatever you want for your one-offs. I don't hate that idea on a 4-gamer because, look, 6% of the time, the Nats are the top stack. What's that? Like 1 in every 22, something in that neighborhood? That's not infrequent, but they don't look good. I'd rather just have one-offs or not have 5. I have 1 5-man Nat stack.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that tells you all you need to know. St. Louis and Tampa Bay, Matthew Liberatore and Zach Lytle. Is it Lytle? I want to say yes.
Littell?
Yeah, it might be Littell. No, I mean, we all know who I'm talking about. So that's all
It's
that
definitely Littell. I mean, I can't say the other guy's name. That's my problem.
Is it Liberatore?
I don't ever remember. I just call him Matt. That's not a joke.
Matt L.
Yeah, I can't ever remember what it is, and it stops me in my tracks when I get to the first letter of his last name.
No, it's Liberatore, but Adam always calls him Liberatore. So then I started it, but I'm looking now on Baseball Reference, at least. It's just Liberatore. Maybe
yeah. Like I said,
look,
Matt.
It's all right. Look, Matt and Zach toeing the rubber today for St. Louis and Tampa Bay. 9.5 run total. St. Louis plus 160 on the road here. Look, we can dig into this one. Zach Littell, 28% ownership, Josh, at 6,900 against St. Louis. 28%. Fourth highest owned pitcher behind Kershaw, who I agree with your original analysis on that. Aaron Nola and James Paxton. And then pitching falls off a cliff as far as ownership goes. There are 4 guys getting a lot of ownership, 4 guys getting absolutely nothing on this slate.
So Zach Littell, I think, assuming I'm getting that correct spelling, I think he looks good.
You're right. It's the double T, double L. Makes sense.
Yeah, 6,900. 25% top 2 pitcher odds, 34% for value. That's exactly where I had him. I have 32%. He looks like a really nice pay down option. There's not a lot of strikeouts in the Cardinals lineup, but it's really honestly weird to me to see this the way that it is, because their run total is so low, and I don't totally know why, because I like the Cardinals. Or at least I like the Cardinals on paper. It's not a team that I'm getting to a lot, but I'm surprised they don't have a higher run total. That said, for 6,900, it's a really nice value opportunity. He's not anything special. Projects with an 18% K rate, a 9% walk rate, and a 484 FIP via Steamer. None of that looks good. This is fully based on being in a pitcher's park and the Cardinals team having a very low implied total. I think the Cardinals implied total rises throughout the day. We might see Littell come down. I kind of feel like Littell is a better option, but I have 14% of Matt. He's only 6% owned. He's 5,700. I think he's just as viable of a value play. I wouldn't be surprised to see this line come closer to each other as we get later on in the day.
Okay. When it comes to hitters here, I mean, you're still talking about a 9. For what it's worth, you have a 9 run total, a 9.5, a 10.5, and an 8.5 on the main slate. So,
yeah, big numbers.
Yeah, a lot of big numbers here.
All the home team too.
Yeah, true.
Four home teams with massive run totals.
Right. You're right. Look at those money lines. Washington plus 210. These are all the road teams. St. Louis plus 160, Kansas City plus 200, Colorado plus 280.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that tells you all you need to know. Do you like the Tampa bats in this game?
A little bit. I have 19 5-mans right now. 4% top, or fourth in top stack, fourth in top value. They are second in ownership. They don't have any MPEs in the projected lineup, which is a little bit problematic. You just kind of want more flexibility, but the top of their order looks fantastic. There's so much power in this lineup. Outside of Manny Margot, basically everybody is at least average or significantly better. Matt is not a guy that I ever really worry about, because he's just Matt. How good can you be if you're just Matt? The interesting piece for Matt, he gets absolutely nuked by righties. 236 x ISO. And the good thing about Tampa is power plays down to lefties, not righties. It's a neutral righty park factor for power. And based on the projected lineup that the Rays have right now, they're going to run out 9 righties. 180 ISO to Yandy Diaz, 174 to Franco. These are projected numbers against lefties. 225 to Paredes, 210 to Rosarena, 207 to Jose Siri. We've got a guy that gives up infinite power to righties, taking on 9 righties in a park that's neutral to righty power. I think this could be a massive day for the Rays. What's really going to be a problem for Matt is if he gets anybody on with some free passes. Walks will be massive, because that's going to be the opportunity to not get solo home runs. I really like the Rays side of this one, but they are probably a little bit over-owned out of the gate. I don't know how much I'll get, but I think you need a piece of them, because I think there's a ton of home runs to be had.
You really do refer to him as Matt.
Yeah, this is not new.
All right,
I fuck his name up every time. Like, I just got sick of it. It's one of those words that, like, I can't put that word in my head with the proper pronunciation.
Yeah. And then if you do, you can't remember it. I do that quite often with certain players. It happens.
And then we're going to get some dude in the NBA that has the same last name and says it differently, and it's going to break me.
That is crazy how that happens, though. It's the same name, same spelling, and just wildly different pronunciation. Yeah, it happens all the time. And then at that point,
I'll just freak out at that point. I just don't need it.
Yeah. We're talking about Kansas City and Boston here. Yeah. And guys, if you're joining late, we're doing the main slate first. Then we're hitting on the early slate because hopefully we should have more information on that, which will be very helpful going into that 12:35 game or 12:35 first pitch. Before we do, though, you guys already know MLB lineup generator, baby. It's $448 for the first week, not $448. That would be crazy. $4.48, which I would argue is equally crazy. Just seeing that some of the success that people have had using this tool over the past, I don't know, what, couple of months in baseball. We talk about it all the time, just screenshots galore. Jordan can throw them on the screen. We get every day or two, there's more screenshots coming and be like, shout out to the lineup generator. Because I think one of the reasons people love it, it's twofold. One, it's easy, but two, it's giving you lineups that are plus EV. It's already throwing the bad ones out. Thousands of simulated lineups, throwing the bad ones out. Then you can set your stack types, or you can just do all stacks. I know a lot of people like to do that. You can set whether you want chalky or balanced or contrarian lineups or all lineups. Run your lineups, save the ones you like, discard the ones you don't like. And then when you're looking at them, you can go, okay, I can see the optimal projection for all of them. I can see how chalky or contrarian they all are. And then you save the ones you have, upload them straight to CSV, but you can see your exposures. This is not a $4.48 a week tool. It's not like my assumption is the price goes up soon on this. I say that serious. I'm serious. I do. I think it will. But it's an awesome tool. It really is. You can upload it to CSV. You can lock players and swap players. Although my recommendation as always is be careful with that. I just think it is for someone that, even if you're only playing a couple bucks a day, or you're playing more than that and you don't have the time in a day, you got a demanding life and you just want to get good lineups in without having to worry about making your mistakes, unforced errors, not knowing the slate. There's 1,000 different reasons why this tool is huge. So link in the description and in the chat for the lineup generator. It's a really awesome tool. And I think as far as like pricing goes, there's no better tool out there for this price anywhere than the lineup generator. All right, let's talk about.
By the way, no disagreements. Everybody that's touching base in MLB DFS should at least try this out for a week. It's too cheap to pass up. If you've had any thoughts of signing up at Stochastic before, this is the easiest one to do, where even if you hate us, you're out less than $5. Like, that's an easy one to stomach.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no like, man, I can't believe I gave them my money. You're going down $4.48. Or you're like, shit, I just won the quarter arcade or the mini max, and now I'm $1,500 richer.
Also a possibility.
Also, yeah. Well, it's happening quite a bit. So
hell yeah.
A lot of stochastic avatars atop those leaderboards lately, and you love to see it. Or you want to just go balls to the wall with the lineup simulator. I know you talked about it the other day, $25,000 win. Our own Tom Kennedy, $50,000 win, $55,000, I think, on Sunday's slate.
Yeah.
That you're certainly going to pay more for that. It's the generator on steroids. But no matter what your style of play is, what your bankroll looks like, your financial situation or limitations, we got something for everybody. So links to everything in the description and in chat, whether it's 50% off Stochastic Plus Platinum, 50% off the lineup generator for the first week, or check out the lineup simulator. They're all in there. And if you ever have questions, you can DM me on Twitter at Lafayette_D. My DMs are open. Kansas City at Boston. Boston monster implied run total here with James Paxton towing the rubber against Kansas City. But you've got Alec Marsh going against Boston in Boston today. Is it any surprise whatsoever that the Red Sox have a 25% top stack probability on this 4-game slate?
No, very clearly the top team. I don't really see any scenario how you're getting to somebody else. They were the top team yesterday, and there were a lot more than 4 games on the slate. Did it work out? No. Yesterday's slate was straight garbage. Today is different, though. You got to go to it. Alec Marsh is not very good. Projects with a 21% K rate and a 483 FIP. That is poor. Over the past 2 seasons for Marsh, if it loads, 248 X ISO to lefties, 256 to righties. It's a small sample for sure, but at no point are we ever going to call Alec Marsh anything as like that's going to be problematic. There's a reason we see this Boston total be so high. Before we touch on the Red Sox, I guess we should just say, like, James Paxton looks fantastic against Kansas City. I'll touch on that in a little bit, but I did want to just get that information out there for anybody that's listening. I have more Red Sox stacks than I have of anybody else. Are they heavily owned? Yeah, they're 25% owned, but they're also 25% to be the top 2 stack, and they're not all that expensive. They're still third in value. I'm actually a little bit higher on their value proposition, but I have no problem with their current ownership, whether it's 5-mans or using these guys as filler for the rest of the stacks. They're in such a fantastically good spot here against Marsh that I am not going to worry all that much about the ownership. I'll still be going to them. So I love Boston. They are my number 1 stack. They were yesterday. They will be again today. I will be getting to quite a bit of the Royals on the opposite side, same as I did yesterday. So I'm hoping this game can actually score some runs, unlike yesterday, which seemed like they were going to do it, and then they just didn't.
It happens. It's baseball, though. And a lot of times that is the case. But yeah, I mean, looking at Paxton and Boston bats, you can't really go wrong here. I mean, Paxton's popular for a reason. When you look at top 2 pitcher probabilities on this slate, Clayton Kershaw, we have a 51% against Colorado. Nola at 48, Paxton at 40. I know Paxton's had some rough starts, but he could easily go out there and just mow this team down. There's no denying that at all. I mean, it's a really good spot. So,
yeah, we touched on that strikeout prop before, 48% owned. I think he's going to end up more owned if Kershaw does come down. But I mean, this is a guy that when righties face James Paxton, 29.5% K rate this year, just lethal.
Any interest in KC bats?
A lot, actually. We have him 5th in top stack, but 1st in value. I have it 4th and 1st. I have 32 5-man Royal stacks here against Paxton. So in lineups where I don't have James Paxton, it's probably a Royal stack for me. I'm willing to go either direction. These guys are just so cheap, lots of flexibility. You're getting a $5,800 Bobby Witt at 12% ownership. I don't mind like paying up to be contrarian there. There's not a lot of power in this lineup. There's a lot of bad, but you get like Matt Duffy with an MPE at the flat minimum. Is that exciting? No, but does it work? Yeah, probably. The only guy that I think is over-owned in any sort of aggressive way is Samad Taylor, 16% projected right now. But I like the value proposition of the Royals, and I think that allows you to go to, like, if you're going to the Royals, you're clearly not rostering Paxton. I'm not rostering Kershaw. So it's going to be a lot of Nola, Royals stacks, cheap pitcher, and then basically whoever I want to fill out that lineup. Because of Kansas City's price point being so cheap and not having any other pay-up pitching, you're going to get the Royals 5-mans with Nola and high-end bats, whether that's like Devers from the opposite side, any of the pay-up options from the Phillies or the Rays or the Dodgers. It'll be very easy to fill out a lineup.
Let's wrap up this main slate with Colorado and the Dodgers. Like you mentioned earlier, just all home teams, massive favorites, high run totals. We can get to old Ty Block here. Dude, he's thrown 26 innings this season, right?
Yeah.
3 starts, 10 appearances overall, 9.4% strikeout rate. Now, I understand this is a small sample. I get it. But 6% swinging strike rate so far. This is not exactly pretty. And it's no surprise whatsoever that you're talking about a Dodgers team that has an implied total right now sitting at 5.7. Ty Block is not going to get any ownership, and he shouldn't. The Dodger bats, on the other hand, look pretty interesting, essentially tied for the second highest top stack probability on the slate. This is pretty straightforward when it comes to what teams have the best hitting options. But I think we need to start with Clayton Kershaw here, coming off of the IL. You had teased it earlier in the show. Obviously, it is a spectacular matchup for Clayton Kershaw against arguably the worst offense. We know definitively bottom 3 offense in the league.
Yeah.
How many pitches does he throw today?
I gave him 3 innings. I don't. I haven't
Three?
seen any. I haven't seen anything yet. His last start, he didn't go to the minors and make any starts. His last start was June 27th.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
not coming in here and just throwing 5 innings, 6 innings, right?
I think he could, yeah.
You mean that seriously?
Yeah.
Okay. The tone of your voice was very much the I don't think he's doing that.
No, I think he
why,
could.
why would they bring him in and just let him rip?
I mean,
it's a shoulder injury. It's not like he sprained his ankle or like, he had mono or something like that.
I think he could throw 60 pitches.
Even if he does throw 60 pitches, like you're not rostering him at 10,200 for that.
Hold on, we're on the same page there. But I'm just saying, like, I think he could be efficient and get through 5 for sure.
I would be shocked if that happens.
Really?
I'd be shocked if he throws 5 innings today. Shocked.
I think it'd be even weirder to just bring him out there for 3 innings.
Well, it's just like having an opener.
I guess. Yeah.
I don't see it. I don't see it. Like 55% ownership is just incorrect. Unless we find out that he is just allowed to do whatever he wants today, which would make 0 sense. I won't have a share of Clayton Kershaw today. But we need more, like we either need more information or like something's going to trickle out. But I cannot project this guy as if he's just getting a normal start today. If that information is out there, I have missed it.
Well, he threw a simulated game.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm saying.
How many pitches?
I can't find that information.
Yeah, like I have a hard time believing he's going deep.
He's going to go 5 innings and 50 pitches, and he's going to strike out 10. That's just going to happen. But
we don't have props on this, do we? There's no way, right?
I would be shocked if we had props on this game. Shocked if we had Clayton Kershaw strikeout props.
Yeah, nothing.
We do not, no. But we have Ty Block under 3.5 strikeouts at -190.
I don't mind it.
Yeah,
I got him at 2.1.
I'm with you on Kershaw, though. I think we disagree a little bit on how deep he can go, but I think we're going to come to the same conclusion at that price point.
You can't, no matter how deep you and I think he's going to go, we think he's in some way limited. And right away, that's going to put you massively behind Aaron Nola and James Paxton.
Yeah. Yeah.
So don't go to Ty Block and Clayton Kershaw is probably not the guy. So you've got 6 pitchers. What seems like 6 pitchers on a 4-game slate.
Thanks for all the super chats, guys. Chris Williams with a super chat. Time to atone. Bring yourself good karma. Once you have nice wins, thanks to this great show, it becomes more clear. I have atoned. Hit the like button. Yeah, man, we're almost at 100 thumbs up. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate you, Chris. Big supporter of this show. Doesn't go unnoticed. Red Skittles, $20 super chat for Josh's coffee and for Jordan's planting trees, I suppose. And then another super chat and Lafayette cheeseburger. Yeah. He has this running bit that like I'm malnourished or something, which is odd. I think I look fantastic.
The odd thing is DraftKings sending out emails at 10:07 saying that they bumped the lock of golf by 5 minutes. I thought it was updating to tell me that it wasn't moving from 8:50 to 11:10. And I was like, no shit, lock moved from 8:50. That was 2 hours ago. They moved it 5 more minutes.
So even if Kershaw doesn't go deep into this game, I mean, is there any way that you can, with any confidence, get to these Colorado bats today? Like it's not like the Dodgers have a bad bullpen.
No. There's no way to get to Colorado other than just saying this is a 4-game slate. Like if you're playing limited lineups, you're not going that direction. If you are playing 150, like I have 1, that doesn't mean I think people should have them, but you know what I mean? Like you can get to them if you're maxing. I don't plan on getting to much. I have no more. I have 8% Brendan Rodgers, a $2,500 second baseman. I don't have anybody else more than 4%. I can't do it.
How about Dodger bats compared to the rest of the rest of these bats, the rest of these top projected stacks today on the main slate?
The problem for the Dodgers is just they're pretty expensive and they're not as efficient as the other teams that you can pay up for. Clearly, they still look good. They're 3rd in top stack. They're actually 2nd in top stack for me. They give up, like, the park is fantastic for power, 125 righty park factor, 121 to lefties for home runs. All of that looks good. Like, the Dodgers bats look fantastic. But if you're asking me, I'm probably putting them behind the Red Sox. Well, I'm definitely putting them behind the Red Sox. I'm probably putting them behind the Phillies just from an efficiency standpoint and an ownership standpoint. I don't want to talk anybody out of the Dodgers. They are an outstanding stack today. I just think that they may be the least cost-effective of the teams at the top.
All right. Hey, we got the main slate down. Let's hit on the early slate here. One like away from 100. How many lineup do we have? I mean, it's 10:30. We should have.
Have we gotten any?
I'm about to tell you right now. We have Atlanta, Pittsburgh, Houston, Minnesota, and Detroit.
Oh, we have everything except for Baltimore.
Oh, are Toronto and Cleveland confirmed now?
Toronto, Cleveland, Minnesota.
Okay.
We have Minnesota, Detroit, Toronto, Cleveland, Atlanta, Pittsburgh, Houston. The only thing that we don't have is Baltimore.
All right, cool.
That's why we do this.
Yeah, man. Let's talk about the early slate. Before we do, though, hey, the best type of free money, or the best type of money, is the free kind. Sleepers match in your first match, or your first deposit up to $100, 100%. What does that mean? It means you put $100 in, you now have 200, or maybe you only have $20 to throw in, 25. That gets you 40, or it gets you 50. You put 50 in, you got 100. They have an awesome new format. Their sleeper picks format is new, and it's going to take off because they've now allowed people to go in and say, man, I'm in a non-legal betting state. I can't take home run props anywhere. I can't take anytime touchdown score props anywhere on these pick'em sites. Well, fret no more, because on Sleeper you can. They figured it out. Dynamic pricing. What does it mean? It means that now, instead of just, say, these 50-50 propositions or close to 50-50 propositions, like, will this player get a hit? Or I think more likely, more reasonable would be like strikeout props or receiving yards or passing yards, where you can set a number and the yes and the no, the over and the under are pretty close to 50-50, right? In this instance, though, you can't do that with home runs, with stolen bases, with doubles, with anytime touchdown scores, with doubles in basketball, right? All that stuff. Sleeper introduced the dynamic payouts, which means they attached a multiplier to all of these. So if it's like a Bryce Harper home run prop that's plus 350, you're getting a 3.5x multiplier over on Sleeper if you wanted to go with the over, if you wanted to go with the yes. And then if you go with the under, multiplier is essentially nothing. You can up to 100x your payouts, which is sick. You can play up to 8 legs. So you give yourself an opportunity for massive payouts over there. And they're no longer limited to just like certain categories where the proposition is mostly 50 or is close to 50-50. They've made it now so you can just play some wild stuff. If you're going in there, you're like, I want to put $5 on this home run card, right? Oh, I can't play a 3-leg home run prop anywhere else. I'm not in a legal state. At Sleeper, you can. And they're matching your first deposit 100% up to $100. Take free money when it's available to you. Another thing to consider too is like all these pick'em sites do free squares and discounted squares. It's the same thing as, massive odds boosts elsewhere, or like free bets on sport. I see you nodding in agreement because you're not in the legal betting state. So that when you get these free squares on certain sites, you don't want to be like, oh, I'm only on Prize Picks, so I can only take advantage of it on those days. If Sleeper comes out and gives you a free square, you want to be there so you can hit it on all of these to maximize your ROI every day of the week. It's a numbers game. It's that simple.
There's so much free money out there in the industry right now. Picking them off every day, taking advantage of whatever pops up on that particular day for whichever site it is. Like today for Sleeper, it's the way that you should go. It's going to be different options on different days. Just get the free money, evaluate it all after the fact, but take the money now before it dries up. It will. I can't wait to get all this. I cannot wait to get all of this sportsbook money in 6 months.
Yeah. Link in the description and in chat. And as always, helps greatly to support the show when you guys do. So we appreciate you for that. Atlanta and Pittsburgh. All right, let's talk about this one. We've got the Atlanta Braves minus 205, huge favorites today in a lot of spots. Bryce Elder, Bailey Falter going for Pittsburgh, 10-run total at PNC Park tells you really all you need to know in this pitcher-friendly venue.
I almost got everything done here. I got a crunch run with 5,000 lineups that I'm going to be able to load and sim. Like during that read, you did a pretty good job of getting that read done so that I could try to get this updated for the early.
Gotcha, brother. I'm a professional, just through and through.
You are. You're like the second best host that's on the show.
Who's number one then?
I mean, Jordan's exceptional at this job.
All right, so
clearly me, obviously. Like no one should be surprised. It's me. I'm the host. It's me. That's my Taylor Swift for today.
Yeah, only a great host would try and sneak that line in there.
Yeah. I'm actually, what I'm honestly doing right now is killing time to continue to run this final simulation that I have so that I can just quickly simulate my final lineups. Bingo. Now we can at least a little bit talk about this slate. So Bryce Elder, I've got him 27% top two pitcher, 23% top two value. This park just absolutely destroys right-handed power. It doesn't exist when you're here. That's going to be a little helpful, I guess. You're probably going to see more righties than lefties. Going to be a pretty good spot for Brian Reynolds. 159 x ISO to lefties for Elder. Just doesn't strike those guys out, but has no problem limiting the righties. This is a really nice spot for Elder at 8,300. Does he look good? No. Pitching on the early is way different than pitching on the late slate. 9,500 Kenta Maeda is the most expensive guy here. You're just getting a very different lineup construction on the early slate in comparison to the late. So I am more than okay getting to Bryce Elder. We'll see if that's a true statement by the time my lineups are done being crunched out. But you also then get Bailey Falter on the opposite side, 6,600. Only pitcher cheaper than him today is going to be Noah Syndergaard. So you can kind of get an idea of what kind of tier this is. Do you want to take Bailey Falter, the lefty, against the righty-heavy Atlanta Braves?
This is a horrible spot for him. Yeah. It's
so it is and it isn't.
It is.
71 park factor for righty power in Pittsburgh. They're going to see a lot. He's going to see a lot of righties. Atlanta is always a bad spot, but at least if he's home, it's a little bit better for him. I'm not trying to take Bailey Falter against Atlanta. That is not the way that I think you're going to be profitable. He's the worst pitching option for today on the early slate, but the park does work for him. I'm just not looking to get that kind of guy on a 4-gamer. I'll find it elsewhere. If the Braves are awful and Bailey Falter's the key to victory today, I'll be okay with it. I'm not going to be like super brokenhearted that I didn't get to the guy that I don't think that I should get to. So I would rather have Elder. I'm grabbing our ownership right now, and I'll be able to give you an actual answer of how much Elder I have in about 30 seconds.
And as far as bats go for this game, I mean, then the question now becomes, if you're saying Bailey Falter benefits from this park, which he does, I don't know if it's going to be enough to, to relieve him of what's coming. He's got Atlanta has a 24% top stack probability, highest on the slate by far. So also they have a implied total north of 6.
Yeah.
So this is still a buzzsaw that he's about to walk into, unless there's just a bunch of warning track shots, that end up resulting in some hard hit balls that don't clear the fence. But they do still have, the second highest stack score in our top stacks tool for the early slate, highest top stack probability. Value score is not as low as it usually is on this team. And aggregate ownership's around 19%. So Atlanta's still going to be popular.
Yeah, they are first in top stack. They're dead last in value. That's exactly where I have them. They're second in ownership. I have 21 5-man Braves. By the way, I have 31% Bryce Elder, neutral to the field. I have 5% of Bailey Falter. It's, that's just how this is going to work. But I do have 21 Braves stacks right now. Pretty heavy stand on Acuna. I am pretty light on Travis d'Arnaud. I think he and Orlando Arcia and Michael Harris are a bit overowned. So I am getting to Atlanta, but I'm not getting a ton of the Braves. I'm about neutral to the field. They are not the team that I'm taking any sort of massive stand on. But I am getting to Pittsburgh on the opposite side. They're basically the inverse of Atlanta. They don't have a very high likelihood of being a top stack, just 6.5%. but they're the number one value team. And they are getting some ownership, but nobody more than Brian Reynolds at 13%. I have more Pirates stacks than I do Braves stacks. I have 28 5-man Pirate stacks. I'm actually getting to more Pittsburgh than Atlanta right now in terms of stacking. So in my non-Bryce Elder lineups, I don't mind getting to Pittsburgh. Palacios at the top, lefty-righty. Brian Reynolds at the top, lefty-righty. Cabrian Hayes is at least interesting for 3,300. I mean, Brian Reynolds is 4,300. That's the most expensive bat in this Pittsburgh lineup. It's easy to get the Pirates.
Okay. Yeah, what's their implied total right now?
I have it at 4, so not great.
Yeah, it's not great. It's higher than Detroit, but that's it. Let's talk about Hunter Brown and Dean Kramer. The 9.5 run total here. There's another 12:35 game, 2 12:35 starts for this one. Hunter Brown, popular. Among the most popular pitchers, you have Kenta Maeda against Detroit, just getting a ton of ownership, rightfully so. We can get to that one next, or in a minute. But Hunter Brown at 38%. Reese Olson against Minnesota, decent strikeout matchup. He's, low 7K. He's at 37%. And then you've got a few of these other guys down there around 20%, so on and so forth, looking at the top pitchers tool. But Hunter Brown, second highest owned pitcher. We do have 31% top 2 probability in the top pitchers tool as well. So going up, against Baltimore, in Baltimore, Hunter Brown is kind of popular.
Hunter Brown is kind of popular, but we kind of have to have a bigger conversation here. There's some weather in Baltimore today, and we're going to need to pay at least a little bit of attention. I think everything should be fine, and they're going to be able to get most of this in. In particular, I think the pitchers will be able to get through the standard starting scope. So I'm going to play this one right now as if there's no issues, but do pay attention to the fact that there's a pretty healthy amount of rain in Baltimore. That said, 36% ownership coming into Hunter Brown right now. 11% coming into Dean Kramer. I'm kind of flip-flopping these two guys. So I'm 2xing Dean Kramer. I have 22% there, only 11% owned. And I am a third of the field of Hunter Brown. I only have 14%. I'm a believer in Baltimore. I like their run total. There's a ton of power in this lineup. Hunter Brown has a little bit of a propensity for walks. Nothing too crazy, but enough that it makes home runs a little bit more interesting. This season, 138 x ISO to, 171 x ISO to lefties, 119 to righties. Righties just don't touch Hunter Brown at all. But lefties, Gunnar Henderson, Rutschman, Santander, all switch hitters. So you're going lefty, 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 lefty. Assuming the projected lineup I have is the lineup that ends up holding, you're going to get 6 or 7 lefties in this lineup for Baltimore. That's the path to it. If he starts letting people on, they can make them pay with some power. So I'm a little bit lighter on Hunter Brown. I'm a little bit heavier on Dean Kramer. No part of that is fun. Facing the Astros sucks. Astros lineup is loaded at the top. There's not a ton of strikeouts here for Dean Kramer, but he's 7,700. You got to find some value elsewhere. And for only 10% ownership, I think he's an interesting way to be a little bit different.
Do you think bats stand out on either side of this game? Because neither team has a particularly low total. It's still this is still a game with a total flirting with 10 runs in Baltimore. Yeah.
So I have more of Baltimore, which I don't think is going to be all that surprising based on everything that I just said. If I'm light on Hunter Brown, I'm clearly going the other direction too. So I have more of the Orioles. They're 5th in our top stack tool, 4th in top value. They have 8.8 aggregate ownership, 10.2% stack score. So they're a little under-owned in general, and I'm more than okay getting there. I think Rutschman leading off for 5,100 as a catcher looks amazing. I don't really understand why he's only getting 9% ownership. This is a fantastic spot for him on a 4-game slate. This isn't some 10-gamer where he's 9% owned. It's a 4-game slate and he's 9% owned. Love getting to Adley Rutschman. Love getting to Gunnar Henderson. Is it scary against Hunter Brown? Yeah, he's talented. But in this aspect, that run total is not too shabby for Baltimore. This is the team that I am getting to in a pretty aggressive way. I do not have more 5-man stacks for any team other than Baltimore. I am relatively limited on the Houston side, only 9 5-mans, but I'm neutral to them in overall ownership. So I'm using Houston a lot. When I don't have a Dean Kramer lineup, most of my lineups are probably getting some Houston filler. Altuve, Bregman, Alvarez, Tucker. Diaz to an extent, a little bit of John Singleton. So I like the Astros as filler. I like the Orioles as 5-mans.
Alek Manoah going up against the Cleveland Guardians today. So since he's returned, he hasn't been, I guess you could say, as bad, Josh. You know, what's that?
Now, in agreement. Oh, we got the Baltimore lineup, by the way. Rutschman, Henderson, Santander, O'Hearn, Mountcastle, Frazier, Hayes. All right, so I had Westerberg, Kauser, and it's Urias, McCann. Not really changing anything for me.
Okay. He hasn't been as bad, but he's still been very inefficient with his pitches. Like, that's one of the things.
Yeah.
His last start before they sent him down was he went a third of an inning and threw 38 pitches, gave up 6 runs, just got clobbered. He's since returned. He's had a couple decent starts. Now you go against Cleveland, but I mean, again, the Cleveland bats just really don't strike out at a high clip. Lowest K rate in the league. Manoah's getting ownership at 6,900 today. And the issue that I have here is that if you're not getting strikeouts and you have trouble working efficiently with your pitches, what's going to happen in any spot at this point, especially if you're not getting enough strikeouts? Because, yeah, you can't be projecting this guy to go 6 innings at any point.
No, but I think he looks good because he's 6,900 and he's just better than Bailey Falter and better than Noah Syndergaard. It's a terrible strikeout matchup. I'm in no disagreement there. But as long as he isn't just full on broken, I'm going to be getting to Manoah. It's been a problem for lefty power on the opposite side, and there are some problem spots in this Cleveland lineup that could get to Manoah for it. But he's good enough against righties. Look, I talked about it when we started off this early slate section. There's just not a lot of skill out there at pitching. It's Reese Olson, it's Alek Manoah, it's Bailey Falter, it's Noah Syndergaard. Like, we got to remember that if you don't like Alek Manoah, it's not like there's a laundry list of awesome choices that you can pay down for elsewhere. So I have 33% Alek Manoah at 20% ownership right now. He is my second most exposed pitcher behind Kenta Maeda, but none of it feels good. I got 30% of Elder. I got 30% of Olsen. I got 22% of Kramer. I've got 18% of Noah Syndergaard, who I guess we could talk about. Like, outside of Kenta Maeda, I think you can, and like Hunter Brown to a degree, since he's talented, I don't really care who I have at pitching. I think you can sort of make a case for anything today.
That's what I was going to ask you next. Like, if you're getting 33% of Manoah, then how much Olsen do you have? But you're
31.
basically just spreading it around. Yeah,
I am. I'm a little bit heavier on Manoah, Falter, and Syndergaard, and I'm just taking basically all of that away from Hunter Brown.
Okay. How much Syndergaard do you have?
17.
Do we really even need to analyze this spot outside of he's really cheap and it's a 4-game slate and you might need some cheap pitching?
No, like, it sucks. I want to be very clear here. He's probably going to get bombed by Toronto. He's Noah Syndergaard. He isn't good. He gives up a ton of power to everybody, generally speaking, at this point. Not good at all. 190 x-ISO over the past 2 years, 165 to righties. Oh, by the way, there's a 12.5% K rate to lefties in that sample.
2.16 home run, 2.16 home runs per 9 in 66 2/3 innings this year. 2.16. A lot of power.
And a ton of power in this Toronto lineup, too. So very scary. But 17% chance to be a top 2 pitcher. Like, 1 out of every 5 days we play this slate, we're basically getting Syndergaard as one of the 2 best options. And at 6,400, if he's a top 2 pitcher, he's the guy you need to get to. Like, that salary matters. He's a solid enough value. It's the same situation as Manoah. One or both of these guys might get rocked today, but you don't have any choice to at least acknowledge their existence.
Syndergaard with a 3.5 strikeout prop.
Manoah, I got it at 3.4.
Yeah. Manoah at 4.5.
I got Manoah at 4.
What do you have Olsen at? He has a 5.5.
4.9.
He has a 5.5 strikeout prop. Juice to the under at -145, but yeah.
Okay. Makes 4.9 look right.
And Kenta Maeda's at 5.5 -170. I'm just looking at I'm not looking across books here, but
sure.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
How about bats for this one? And then we'll wrap it up with this Minnesota-Detroit game.
Yeah, I mean, 20% ownership, number one stack for Toronto right now in terms of ownership. There's just so much unrealized power going up against Syndergaard. When it hits, it's going to hit big time. And they're like they're cheaper to get to than Atlanta, so it makes that piece a little bit easier. That said, I have 11 Blue Jays 5-mans. I'm half the field right now. I'm just getting to more Braves, and then I'm basically getting to the Orioles in lieu of Toronto. I'm hoping Syndergaard can hold it together at least a little bit today. I do have 9 Guardian stacks. I think you kind of just want a bunch of this game. Or maybe not a bunch, but like, I think you want all 4 pieces. You get some Syndergaard for value. You get some Manoah for value. You play with some Toronto because they have massive power against Syndergaard. And you go to Cleveland because they're just like a perfectly reasonable middle of the pack team.
Minnesota and Detroit. And shout out to you guys. Well over 100 likes here. Much appreciated. Breaking down 2 slates on the strategy show. Kenta Maeda and Reese Olson. I mean, honestly, I understand the ownership going to both of these guys. Kenta Maeda is going up against a bad Detroit team that is going to, strike out at a high clip. 7th highest K rate versus righties in the year. 88 WRC plus, which is, just god awful. Only 3 teams have a lower WRC plus versus righties. It's Oakland, Washington, and Colorado. Detroit's down there in the basement with all of these teams. They also don't possess an immense amount of power either. And Kenta Maeda has had some great performances this year. But Olson, even on the other side, he has a 21% K rate. Minnesota can absolutely do damage and make you pay. But they also strike out at an alarming clip, Josh. And that's really just, I think at this point, that's just what you're playing for. You're playing for the strikeout upside against the Minnesota team that has on the active roster a 28.3% K rate versus righties, which is 3% higher than any other team.
That's why Olson's getting the ownership, and he looks like the best pay down option because there's just so many strikeouts to be had in this Minnesota lineup. 24% K rate for Olson against lefties, 21 to righties. He does have some problems with power, so it is a bit of a boom bust spot for Olson, but he looks better than Manoah. He looks better than Falter. He looks better than Syndergaard. There's a reason he's getting the ownership. I do think he's a little over-owned. I only have 30%, but I don't think that 40 is like outlandish. Similarly, Kenta Maeda, clearly the top starting pitching option today, facing the Tigers. They're not good. Maeda is a solid pitcher, doesn't give up power to lefties at all, does have a problem with righties. There's not a lot of talent on the Tigers side to really hurt them. This park murders power. So this is a fantastic spot for Maeda. I do think he's also like a hair over-owned, but I have 50%. He's my most exposed pitcher. I don't mean it in any way. He's the first guy you should be getting to. That said, I have 24 5-man Tiger stacks right now against Kenta Maeda. They look awful, but I think that is the way that I'm going to be zagging on this early slate, is hoping that Maeda goes tits up and I get a Tiger stack leading me to victory.
He has allowed some power.
Yeah, right. Righties will touch him up. Like if you're Spencer Torkelson or Javi Baez or Jake Rogers, like there's something there.
And then the Minnesota bats, it's funny because Olson's popular, but Minnesota's got pop. They have the 4th highest top stack probability, not far off from Toronto or Houston. Atlanta's running away from the pack for obvious reasons, but pretty popular stack for Minnesota as well. I think 3rd most popular on this slate. They also have the highest stack score in our top stack tool. So Reese Olson really doesn't look bad, but this feels like an either-or type of game. Reese Olson goes out there, maybe strikes out 8 with a high strikeout team, or he gets tuned up early and can't get through the 3rd.
I'll be honest. I look at the Twins a little bit differently than we do today. I'm a little bit lighter on them. This is not a team that I'm getting to a lot. I only have 11 5-man stacks. I have half the field of their ownership. This park really, really limits power. Lefty park factor over the past 3 years in Detroit. Do you want to take a guess what that is?
Sorry, ask the question again.
The lefty park factor for home runs in Detroit over the past 3 years. It's a rolling 3-year calculation. What do you think it is?
Where does it rank?
Or tell me the number either way. It's going to be dead last.
What is it? I have no idea.
66. Like
in Detroit, really? It's the lowest in the league?
Yeah, you just don't get lefty power in Detroit. And righties is 83. Like This park limits power in a big, big way, at least per StatCast. So that kind of situation has me limiting the amount of Minnesota. You're getting a bunch of lefties hitting today. I don't think that fits this park well.
Okay.
Yeah, if I pull up the StatCast park factors, we go to 3-year rolling from the left side, and I go to venue. I want to make sure. I could be shocked if anybody's below it. Yeah, Tigers are dead last at 68. The next closest is Kansas City at 79.
Wow.
Yeah. For example, they're basically the inverse of Cincinnati. Cincinnati's 140. So like that
huge.
You look at Max Kepler and Matt Wallner, Gallo, Julien, like it doesn't mean you can't hit home runs, but with that limitation, if you're not getting home runs, like that's what you're looking for in DFS. And no park is going to limit it like this today than Detroit.
There it is, dude. 8 up, 8 down, 4 for the main, 4 for the early. Of course, if you guys join late, feel free to go back after this main early slate locks. Come watch the main slate. We hit that first just so we had more updated information and lineups for the early slate.
Glad we did too. That worked out exactly like it should have.
Good call. Yeah. Follow Josh at Josh Engleman, Mia _D. Shout out to Jordan Klein for producing this one. And remember, sleeper, first match deposit bonus, 100% up to $100. Just free money, man. Free money and a great pick'em format. Lineup generator, 448 for the first week. All of our tools, whether it's Stochastic plus Platinum, generated 50% off. You get the sim down there. Whatever you want to play, however you want to do it. Everything's down there. And stick around. We got live before lock tonight. Coming up at 5. We've got NFL preseason with Matt Kajeski and myself at 6:15 to 7. So we got a lot going on. Don't go anywhere. Stick around for the Stochastic channel. We got pumping content out all day long here. We'll see you back here tomorrow to close out the work week on the MLB Strategy Show. Thanks, guys. Peace.
I got pissed.